Right. So we have three chapters to catch up on. And yes, I did say three because we're going to start talking about new chapters much quicker now. If you guys don't haven't caught up with the manga yet, please catch up. It is going insane right now. But yeah, I've been waiting for talking about 1178, 1179, and 1180. Well, 1180 not so long, but 1178 and 1179 have been delayed. But holy crap, the amount of things that are happening in this chapter. Holy freaking Rinnegan and Amaterasu. My god, dude. It those will make more sense later on in this video. But holy shit, there is so much going on. It's so hard not to talk about it. Because Elbaf is starting to look like Sabaody 2.0. Because what's happening, I don't think the Straw Hats are prepared for it. Like, it's too early for these all to be happening and for them to be facing the foe that they're facing right now. There is a small chance it could not be, but it is a very very small one. Um, so yeah, we're gonna talk about these chapters chronologically: 1178, 1179, and then 1180. So buckle in. This might be long. I'm not sure. There's too many things to go on. All right, we're gonna start with 1178. So 1178 kind of leaves off where Brooke and Usopp get found by Luffy, and basically Luffy hands them off to the rest of the crew, which is kind of insane because like he can just travel that far distance. Because I'm pretty sure Brooke and Usopp were very far away from the other three. Um, and the fact that Luffy can travel over there is a lot quick distances is pretty cool. I'd like to see how this pans out, but basically Luffy just hands them over and tells them to stay away because like it's getting serious now. Um. Anyway, we see Nidhogg and Loki basically just square up against Imu, and basically they're just throwing attacks at this point. And Imu does say something on this lines that there was apparently a couple of strange ships, giant ships, that were attacking only world government vessels in the, I'm guessing, the Florian Triangle. Not sure if that's the same ship that we were, same people that we were seeing in the fog in Thriller Bark. Oh my god, the names are escaping me. Thriller Bark. But probably it's very possible. We didn't see a giant dragon though in the shadows, so I'm not sure what was happening there. But I'm pretty sure Loki was in the fog when the Straw Hats were in Thriller Bark. So that's an interesting parallel to compare. I would like to know a little bit more. Again, I've said this before. I would like to know a little bit more about Loki's travels and what he did. Maybe something is there in his travels that we can uncover. Because Loki, although he doesn't know a lot, he seems like there is a little bit more information that Loki is not yet revealed yet, which is fine. But I would like to see a little bit more of the trials. Maybe there's something that he saw in the Florian Triangle that he didn't know, but we as the readers could get a hint out of. That's primarily why I want to see Loki's travels. Anyway, we see Imu kind of like attack them, and then Imu leaves Gonko's body to actually try to Domi Reversi Luffy and Loki. And this is interesting because Imu, the way he reacts to this, it's like he knew the outcome was already guaranteed. It was not something that it was just him trying either way. So the Domi Reversi does not work on Luffy and Loki, which is kind of interesting. So there are people out there, or at least some primordial abilities out there, because I think some of these devil fruits are primordial abilities that certain things don't have an effect on. Like, so I'm going to come to this conclusion after I discuss the next two chapters, but there are some abilities that seem to shield you from Imu's Dami Reversi, which is great that Luffy has it, because Luffy as Dami Reversi would be hard for the Straw Hats to beat. So hopefully we see something good over there. Anyway, the the fight over there kind of ends with Loki using Ragnir to Niflheim, Imu, and Gunko, and we stop there. After which, obviously, Luffy collapses. Meanwhile, we also do see a little bit of Chopper's ability, and Zoro finally finds out Chopper's ability to kind of kick out the Dami Reversi spirits, which is such an interesting ability. The fact that Chopper can just do that by a touch is so interesting. Like, what I really want to know what that ability is. Why is Chopper able to do that? Zoro over here, by the way, says like, maybe it's just you're such a great doctor that you can cure them by touch, which is a hilarious line by Zoro. But yeah, we see that Chopper cures the rest of the giants, and we move on from there. We then come to a situation where, like, we see that all the libraries and everything that were on fire were frozen, and Bilbo the Owl. Now, Bilbo the Owl is an interesting character because he's just disappeared from Elbaf, alright? And he's like a really strange entity that we know nothing about, and like there are theories out there saying that he was there during the Void Century, I'm pretty sure. And the fact that he disappeared is making me believe that he knows a lot more that we need to find out about. It's something that we definitely have to see in the future if it's going to show up, but it is definitely something that we need to. This is a character that we need to meet again, just so that we know that there is either something to find out or there's nothing to find out. And finally, so just as this chapter is about to come to conclude, we get the most horrific sentence said by this character. Imu plans to leave Marijoa. Holy, this is insane. Like, there's only one destination. Given the current context, there's only one destination you can think of. He is going to Elbaf. The reason why I'm saying this is looking like a Sabaody 2.0 is because the Straw Hats are not prepared. They are not prepared to beat a full-on Imu. Holy crap. And the next two chapters kind of prove it. Like, this character, they're just not equipped to prepare for this. So we move on to 1118 now. Sorry, 1179 now. We see that when Imu informs everyone that he's going to be leaving, there's obviously an outrage that there should be a reason. But it seems like the way the story goes, the way the narrative is written, it seems like the elders are kind of worried about Great Imu leaving. All right. And you can see some level of concern in their in the way that they talk, and it kind of goes to show that there could be consequences to Imu leaving, which we do see that there is, and eventually they kind of come to the conclusion that it has to be that Imu has to leave. Like, there is a reason, and I'm so happy for One Piece actually doing this. Very rarely do we see a character act based on what's happening. So most of the times characters, even the most evil characters, they kind of act based off of the narrative. Like, they're the final boss, they're not supposed to show up until the final. Emu leaving now is such a good idea because if you look at if you're playing from the world government side, right, and everything that you're doing is going wrong, all right, there's no point delaying the inevitable. And the fact that Emo has a foresight to see that he has to be the player in this situation, he has to be the one to go in this, even if it's going to cost him a little bit. He can't just delay it. And this is where I think Emu could be a good ruler in a way. It's a fact that he knows when he is needed. He's a good leader in that situation, all right? He's a horrible person, allowing the Celestial Dragons to do that and all. He is a good ruler. He is a really good ruler in the fact that he knows when he's needed. He's a good leader in general. And the fact that Oda actually made this character do the necessary thing and evaluate the necessity of him actually going to Elbaf, because we don't know the entire picture. Elbaf could be the final piece of the puzzle for um, Emu's downfall, right? So it could just be that Emu is so heavily invested or heavily pushed against a wall that he has to leave Marijoa for this. We kind of do see that there is a concern regarding Emu leaving Marijoa, and eventually they do come to consensus that it is not up to the elders to decide. It's up to Emu to understand what's right for his vision of the world. So eventually he does leave. So before he leaves, we kind of go through this panel of these flashbacks towards all the events that has led up to it. We go through Zebek, Roger, Whitebeard, Luffy being protected by Whitebeard, Loki being found out as the captain of the Fog Pirates. I'm going to call them Fog Pirates. I don't think that's their name, but I'm going to call them Fog Pirates. And then Cobra dying. Cobra's dying words. I don't know if he's dead, to be honest. And then them hunting for Vivi. So we know the world government is hunting for Vivi. Very hard to see how that's gonna pan out. I hope Vivi gets to join the Straw Hats before that happens. But the Straw Hats might be a little bit of trouble. And we finally see Emu leave and arrive at freaking Elbaf, dude. Of like we knew this was gonna happen, but it's something insane. And we finally get the full name of Emu. It's Saint Nerona Imu. Now, all things aside, all right. There was always a continuing doubt whether Emu was a man or a woman. I always thought he was a guy. My sister always thought he was a girl. She was a girl, and I am so happy that I am correct and I can rub it in her face. But anyway, it's just the way that he was referenced a lot of times by the elders. It felt like they were referencing to a man. It just a maybe it's a personal bias that's in my head, but it just basically felt like they were talking about a guy and not a girl. Anyway, we do see that Saint Nerona Imu is here, and holy crap, does he look cool, man! He apparently he's a Lunarian, and the fact that he has horns, it could be that he has some level of giant blood. That's the running theory right now, that he's a Lunarian with giant blood in his vein. So he's kind of like a hybrid, making one of the strongest people in the land. And holy shit, this first panel, I'm gonna put the panel up here right now. This first panel where they showed him, dude, the guy, if anything can exhibit aura, he can exhibit aura. Alright. He just comes in, and the amount of hockey that he exhibits just by his presence, it's like 10 times the amount Shanks exhibits. It's like he lands and everyone is scared. Everyone is scared. It changes the look of the buildings. He kind of like Dommy reverses the buildings a little bit, which is kind of crazy. But before this entire Grandoa's panel, the reason I said leaving Marijoa could have some significant issues on Imu, we do see him cough up blood before he disrobes. So the figure that we've been seeing so far is kind of like a veiled thing or a veiled body that he has to inhibit. And I think that exiting that body or leaving Marijoa to some certain exist causes him some level of pain. I don't know what it is. Maybe there's something about Marijoa that's sustaining him, and maybe the war during the Void Century kind of kept him, wounded him to the point where he cannot leave Marijoa for a long time, which leads to a sneaking suspicion that Marijoa has something that's keeping him alive, or he is land-bound to that. It's kind of like, if you guys have been watching Fire Force recently, it's kind of like what happens to Death when he kind of like locks up his first son. What's his name? But basically, if you guys have seen Soul Eater, you guys would know that Death is kind of like locked to the DMCA because of having sealed his son, and he cannot move outside of Death City. So I think it's something along the same lines of Imu, that he's kind of locked to Marijoa, and if he leaves Marijoa, he kind of has to pay a price for that. Now, I got caught up a little bit over here with Imu's reveal. But before Imu's reveal, we kind of find out a little bit more about the God Knights. And apparently, the God Knights do have a weakness. So, they have a steel heart that can be destroyed, which if destroyed, they actually die. So that is kind of crazy, because we definitely need a weakness for these guys, and finally we have found one. So hopefully we can see some of these guys perish. My vote is for Summers to die. He's the worst of them all. He's even like, the Dream guy is still like, he's a pain. I did not like his comments about Fishman. And what do you call it? Jinbei. So I'm kind of pissed off at him as well. But Summers is just incorrigible piece of shit. But anyway, I vote for Summers to die first. But that's an interesting fact, because the Straw Hats are definitely going to need that, and the fact that they found this out right now helps them for future battles, I'm pretty sure. So the last thing that we're going to talk about is Imu's title when he was shown over here. So it's the world government's creator, one of the first 20 ability Devil's Fruit. Now, this is an interesting way to describe him, because he is, even though he's one of the first 20 ability users are fine, all right? But the fact that they don't change his description, it says Devil's Fruit. Okay, now the fact that they put, in the translation that I read, they put an asterisk next to the fruit part of this thing. So I'm guessing his ability is the devil, or my theory regarding the devil fruits gains a lot of credibility, that these abilities are not through the fruits. The fruits are a carrier of these abilities. Like, they existed a while ago, like they were originally developed by certain people, and then when those people died due to war or any other thing, they eventually got transferred into a fruit. They found a way to use a fruit to transfer those abilities to the next generation. And it's one of those two things. It's either his fruit is the devil fruit, human food model devil. That would explain the horns, because they're not typical giant horns either. Or it could be that he is one of the people who has developed abilities throughout his life and kept them, and the rest of them rest of the abilities, like Luffy's abilities, Loki's abilities, they are basically abilities that were developed by other people, and the fruit is just a medium to pass down those abilities to the next generation. That's basically my theory on it. Not 100% sure, but we're gonna see a lot more about this. So, coming to chapter 1180. Okay. So, we have finally got Emu attacking Elbath, and this is kind of serious because the abilities he kind of demonstrates here is truly frightening, and I am so not sure if the Straw Hats are capable of facing off against this. Honestly, they aren't. They just aren't. It's just going to be. I feel like it's just going to be Sabaody 2.0. All right. So basically, he Emu lands and basically asks for who's the king of the land, and obviously Elbaf has no king, so people respond as such. But he basically cuts off Gerd's fingers, which was holding Sommer's, like it was nothing, which is kind of sad. It kind of like brings up bad memories for me because I've had a family member who's had a similar accident, and it just brings up bad memories for me. Um, but yeah, so he cuts out the fingers of Gerd. I'm hopeful. It's the world of One Piece. They probably find a way to fix that. I'm pretty sure. Um, but basically, they don't know who this is. Like no one in Elbaf knows who this is. So they kind of like try to attack him, and but some of them can actually feel that this guy is not someone you can mess with so easily. Um, and Harudin tries to attack, but then gets kicked away from what I would say a devastating blow that would have probably killed him by Stanzen. And but Stanzen loses his leg, which is kind of another interesting situation. But because this is happening, Imu does fire an interesting ability, which kind of looks like Amaterasu fires, hence the Amaterasu at the beginning of the video. He fires an ability called Omen at Summers, which seems to completely heal him. So I don't know what that ability is. It seems like it's a reconstitution ability, but he also fires it again at Zoro when Zoro tries to attack him, which it hits him, and then he fires it again at Hyruddin, which creates a blast. So I don't know what that ability does because the reading the manga panels, you don't exactly understand what's going on. Maybe I'll have to read it a couple more times to see what's happening. But basically, he after doing all this, after beating Zoro and Hyruddin, he kind of tells Somers to work fast, and they both leave. And this kind of takes away the monstrous forms of the houses. So I don't know how his presence. I'm pretty sure now that it could be that Emu has the devil's fruit, like the devil, human form model devil, because big, just the way the omens are shaped, as well as just the fact that he could transform inanimate objects into like these monsters shows me that he has some ability similar to the devil, you know. Anyway, we see them flying away. By the way, again, have to comment. I'm looking at the emu design right now, and holy crap, the flying design is just insane. Um, Anyway, so we see that an announcement is made to the entire island that there's someone higher than the God Knights has shown up, and interestingly, we see that what do you call it, Gaban, Scupper Gaban, literally comments that he's never felt a hockey like this before. I guess that even though they faced against the world government a lot and they were the crew that found the true history and everything, they never went face to face against Emu in this form. They probably knew that there was someone controlling the world government in the shadows, but they didn't ever face someone like him, which is very interesting because now that Emu's here, I'm starting to think he might not be the only one. He might not be the only ruler of the world. He might be someone. He might be. If you guys have seen like the werewolf movie, what was it? I forget the name. The vampire werewolf movie, Underworld, right? So if you guys have seen Underworld, there's like a head chosen every few years uh, to rule the vampire lord houses. You can like there's Marcus, then there was Victor, I think. All these guys, they basically cycle the position of leadership, right? So I think Emu might just be one of those leaders. They might have that similar system where they cycle the leaders, and Emu might just be the leader for this century. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be more people like Emu out there, and I'm kind of scared because that's the only way I can think of narratively allowing Emu to show up at Elbaf this early on. So I honestly don't think that the Straw Hats are going to be able to beat Emu at this moment, but I also don't think that they're going to do another 2-year time script or 1-year time script right now, given how close we are towards a lot of things. So I'm having a feeling that the Straw Hats will escape somehow and regroup, but I don't know what that is. So that's why I'm thinking like, just because Emu's here, that means there might be other people on the similar scale as Emu to face later on, basically. So Emu basically then makes a landing at Sanji and all's area, where Sanji also does get his ass kicked pretty quickly. I mean, like, it's not really hard for us to believe that he's just the leader of the world government, and he is definitely going to be kicking people's asses all day long, even if he's like hurt by it, hurt by leaving Marijoa. He's still going to be able to do that. It's not something that I think is impossible for him, but we do see another interesting ability over here, where he can turn giant. He can turn big, like really big. I don't know if this is his actual size or something on those lines, but he can turn big. Like he's got the same ability as Luffy to turn gigantic. So I honestly don't know what's going on over here. Like, I don't know his abilities. I would love to see a little bit more, but I think next week I think we probably might have a chapter next week. I didn't see. Let me just double check. So we do have a chapter next week, but it's something that's really interesting. I want to know a little bit more about his abilities. I want to know what the confirmed devil fruit is, because it seems to be a human fruit model devil. Not 100% sure. So we end the chapter with Emu being confronted by Loki and basically stating that he's the one who killed Harold, when Emu does say that you killed my the person that killed my servant in Elbaf a while ago, and Loki obviously confirms it. And we're now going to face off with Loki versus Emu, which honestly I don't think Loki has a chance. I'm sorry, man. Like, I don't like rooting for the bad guys, but I don't think Loki has a chance to beat Emu. Like, Loki is just okay. Don't get me wrong. He's probably a protagonist character in this arc, but it's Emu, dude. He's like the biggest bad in the entire thing. So I'm talking about narratively over here. There's a chance like he could injure him, or there could be a reason for Emu to have to leave. The only way I see the Straw Hats winning this one is if there's a time limit for Emu to stay on the island, and he has to leave before then, and them basically beating out that time limit. All right, or they let Elbaf as the land burn, and the rest of the Straw Hats and the Giants escape. I really hope that like Gerd's fingers and stuff come back, as well as Stanton's leg, because that kind of like touched the nerve there. But outside of that, these three chapters have been freaking great. I want to see a lot more going on. And yeah, that's basically it. I hope you guys have been enjoying the chapters as much as I have. And if you have, I'd love to know your comments down below, because having someone to discuss these things with, there is no one in my life who is as caught up to One Piece as I am. So you guys who are reading the chapters down below in the comments are basically my outlet to discuss these things with. I'd like to know a lot more about your thoughts, about your ideas, about what these abilities of emus could do, because some of the abilities are just disgusting. Disgusting. But that's it. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, consider leaving a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more content like this. I've been Kurigami. I'll see you guys in the next one.